Welcome to another edition of Small Business Review. I'm Ernest Edward Lacey, your host. Today we have as our guest Gwendolyn Tucker and Ricky Tucker, owners of Rick's International LLC. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're glad to be here.
A husband-wife combination.
Yes, sir.
Quite unusual, but great. Gwen, we're going to start with you.
Yes, sir.
We know a little bit about Rick from a prior show, but we're going to start with Gwendolyn today. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, well, actually, I grew up in Northwest Florida, north of Pensacola, Florida, and lived there and graduated from college. I have a degree in accounting, and then migrated to Cincinnati, Ohio, and with a CPA, I worked with Champion Paper Company, and then I came here to Memphis in 2000 when International Paper acquired Champion Paper Company, and so I've been here ever since.
Okay. And Rick, we don't want to outdo you, so inform the public again about your background.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I have no problems at all following Gwen. So it's not a problem at all. Following Coach Gwen. Yeah. I am a native of Memphis and attended the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, where I started majoring in broadcasting because I was a broadcasting student at WLOK. I was a teenage reporter for my high school. And I was just really fascinated with broadcasting. So started at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville with that as a major and ended up having that as a minor. I've lived and worked in a number of different places and returned to Memphis. Quite honestly, I was just going to be here, as I said in the last show, just for about 120 days, and all that changed when Gwen and I got an opportunity to meet one another and to get married. So great investment of time.
Oh, great. That's great. Now, each one of you got a business, and they're different.
Yes.
Gwen, tell us about yours.
Actually, I joined Ricky in the company that he started. It's Rick's International, RIX, and the RIX stands for our core values, respect, integrity, and excellence. And basically what we do is we equip leaders and we help them build teams to achieve uncommon results. And we do that through coaching, consulting, and training. Ricky actually started the business as an executive coaching business. And then when I joined in 2007, we expanded our offering to consulting and to training. And so those are the areas that we provide and the services we provide.
Okay, and Rick, you're a little bit different.
Absolutely. We're under the same umbrella, and we were talking earlier before the show about me not planning something and then you saying, but it was in the big plan. So I couldn't have planned this any better. With me founding the LLC and then Gwen coming as the managing partner was the best thing for the LLC, of course, because she's a lot smarter, and as you can see, she's a lot nicer looking than I am too. And interestingly enough, I started Rick's International LLC when I was living in a small town just northeast of Indianapolis called Fishers, Indiana. And one of my neighbors is a retired football NFL player. And we had a conversation, and he said to me, you know, you have the mannerism, you have the heart, and you have the intellect. Athletes really need your help. So years passed after I talked with Ed Morris was his name. I then met a dear friend of mine, and we grew to be like big brother and little brother, William Smith, who was a legendary coach in Indianapolis. He allowed me to work with him and his basketball team as a mental toughness coach and as the life and business and leadership coach. And over time, I continued to work with athletes, and I realized there is a desperate need to help our young athletes, both male and female, to bring out that value that they have in them that they've developed all these years as athletes, but to help them to make that transition into life. So since I'm Coach Ricks, and as Gwen said, that Ricks is respect, integrity, and excellence, it was really easy for Gwen and I to sit down and talk and take that advice that Ed Morris gave me some years ago to start working with young athletes. So our focus is to help them to transition into the business world, whether they're male, female, young, or older. The nonprofit really serves to help the young people, starting about 13 years of age, to start developing them. And then when that time comes for us to work with a professional athlete, then we would work together with them through Ricks International.
I see. How do you basically kind of paint a picture for me, if you will? How do you approach them? Do they find out about you, or do you basically hold sessions for the, I'm speaking of the young athletes, the 12, 13, 14-year-old. They're probably coming out of grammar school, their first years of high school. How do you arrange a session where you can basically talk to them or get their attention? Because I'm sure they're focused mostly on what they do.
Absolutely.
Playing basketball, playing football. Mr. Rick, I'm not at that point now. I would just want to make sure, I get my groove going here, whatever.
Well, I'll tell you quickly, and before I do that, I would like to say it's through the help and the guidance of our board members right now. That is very, very small. Joanne Nicholson and Tommy Thompson, board members, and we are looking for new board members or additional board members and our team members throughout the country. Believe it or not, before we started the nonprofit is about 2 years old, but we have been having Coach Rick's Winners Calls for almost 4 years, every Saturday morning. Tommy Thompson, who really drives everything, he's in the greater Memphis area. Ronnie Thompson, who is in a combination, he's our blessed child. He lives in both Ohio and in Florida. Yes, Mr. Ronnie. And then we've got Robert Jenkins, who's in Athens, Georgia, and we've got Jimmy Jenkins in the Carolinas, and we've got Tommy Liggins, who's in Carbondale, Illinois, and we've got a few other team members, Nick Hubbard, who's in Cincinnati as well. So as we're going about, Nick Hubbard, for example, is a coach for young people. So on our calls on Saturdays, a lot of times we will look at what's going on and discuss what's been in the news. For me, I am fortunate enough to really look at an athlete by now and to be able to talk with them, particularly young children, with their family members and all, and just start asking the questions. And fortunately, we've worked with a few people, so we even have people coming to us from time to time, and we would invite parents and young people to contact us so that we can help them.
Okay. Now, Gwen, you come into this at some point. Where do you come into this scenario?
Well, one of the things as far as working with student athletes, I'm really very proud to say when you ask about how Ricky gets to athletes and to audiences, he's had an opportunity to speak to some AAU basketball players, over 2,000 of them, and young players, to talk about those attributes that are very important outside of the sport and outside and off the court. And so that has been that's been great. So helping to build, we have a coaching guide, a playbook for student athletes, and so being able to develop that and help develop that. And really, someone said one time that there are 4 kinds of people. There are visionaries, designers, implementers, and maintainers. And Ricky is very much a visionary. And so one of the things that I have a privilege of doing is hearing his vision and then being able to take that and to put it on paper and in a fashion or form, so that when he goes out, he speaks and that kind of thing, to encourage and talk with young people. I can help assist in that particular fashion. So,
We're shedding a little light on some of the particulars that you get into with these young athletes.
I'll be more than happy. We have something that Gwen has designed, and it's called Bring Your A Game, Plan B, and C. We call it the ABCs from Coach Rick's Winners. But let's talk about the Bring Your A Game. And basically, Bring Your A Game consists of words that begin in A. For example, your attitude, your anchors, the things that you do to really help you to move forward. So you've got your attitude. We always say that talent can get you there, but your attitude is what really keeps you there. Your associations, as we all know, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, somebody in your family has always said, be careful who you associate with.
Right.
Your anchors, and that is really what keeps us grounded. So that's just a snippet of what we offer, and we focus on leadership and character because our young athletes have a lot of gifts and talents, and as the word goes, or as the saying goes, to whom much is given, much is required. So we remind the athletes, whether they're male or female, about their responsibility. Because of those gifts, they're more responsible than others because they impact others' lives, and they can either be positive or negative. And our goal is to make sure through Coach Rick's Winners, whether it's here in Memphis, whether it's someplace else in the country, and we have had the opportunity, even before I founded the company, to go, actually, after I founded Coach Rick's, or Rick's International rather, had an opportunity to speak to some soccer players as far away as Soweto, South Africa. So, but the young people are still the same. The challenges are still the same, no matter where you are globally. The challenges and the opportunities are still the same. So we're excited about doing what we do on the nonprofit side, and I really am blessed beyond all measure to have Gwen as my partner, particularly on the for-profit side too, because we see that there's much of a need in the for-profit and our Rick's International LLC division as there are with the student athletes and the professional athletes, because that's our goal.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking about that. I imagine that when you read stories about professional athletes who have made tons of money, and now they no longer play the game, but they're broke. That's a sad story. And I imagine you're trying to, with your efforts, you're trying to intervene in a process like that much, much earlier, probably prior to them even becoming professional athletes.
Absolutely.
So they know exactly, you know, what they're coming into. I mean, you're going to have people, you know, a professional athlete that makes money probably is like, it's almost like being coated with honey. He or she is going to attract every kind of element out there.
Absolutely.
Because everybody is looking for money. Money.
And our goal with Coach Rick's Winners, and particularly if they are professionals or post-professionals for that matter, our goal is to help them to maintain a standard of living that they have been used to versus peaking and then spiking. So that's our goal. When my friend Coach Smith was living, he would look at me sometimes and say, oh boy, here you go. You're that guy that always tells people no. And I do, because I want to hold everyone accountable, but I want them to, as a life and business coach and advisor, I want them to see into the future.
You know, I heard part of an interview just a couple of days ago with the new coach of the Grizzlies, Fitzhugh, and he made a statement regarding the players that they had just drafted, and he said something to the effect of, he says, not only do I want to develop them as athletes, but I want to develop them as men.
Wow.
And that's what really caught me. You know, it wasn't the athletes, it was the developed them as men.
Well, I'll tell you, if there's anybody watching the show today that knows him, then I would certainly like to have an appointment to talk with him.
Yeah.
Because that is my goal, and I will tell you that I had the pleasure of interviewing Coach Josh Pastner, and he is a man of character and integrity, and I just happen to know that that is his interest as a coach, and this is something that I know from having chatted with him before and after the interview with him, but I would love to help the coach of the Grizzlies to develop men, because as my godsons in Chattanooga would tell you, Coach Ricks, or as they would call me, Uncle Ricky, is only raising men and women.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times we forget about the female athletes.
Absolutely. Well, we don't. We've had the pleasure of working with a young lady who did play professional basketball for a couple of years. So we've kind of adopted her as our daughter. So, yeah.
The target audience, your target audience now, it's not just the athletes. Is it just anybody? So let's say someone, how can we put this? Say a non-athlete would call you. What's your take with them? How would you follow through with them?
One of the things that we do with Ricks International is coaching. And we offer coaching just like on Coach Ricks Winners offers coaching for athletes. One of the things that we do is identify how serious they are about going to the next level.
Okay.
And what the next level is that they're looking for. Because I really believe that once you get clear about what your goal is, and then you have a process in place, and Ricky mentioned this about accountability, that when those three things are in place, it's a great setup and framework to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And so if someone is looking and seeking coaching because I know there's more, I know that I'm capable of more, I know that I'm capable of achieving more, then what we would do is sit down and talk with them about what their aspirations are, and then talk about how serious they are about getting there, and then develop a plan to help them get there. One of the things that we've always said is that we love helping people, and one of the things that we do love is helping people help themselves, because once they get a plan and process in place that they can drive and lead, then what happens is it makes them stronger, and they're able to accomplish much more.
Sure. Now, let me go back a few steps, because we were talking about 12, 13-year-olds. Now, when you're dealing with minds that are that young, does the educational process come into play? Do you examine their grades, where they are in school? Do you look at ways in which they can improve, or do all of these other things intertwine in there, their attitude and their focus and so on and so forth?
I'll just
Help
give
me
you
out there.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of examples. Well, fortunately, it's amazing that you asked that, because I have everything that I do, it's we. Everything that Gwen does, it's we. But we have a coaching client who's just recently graduating from high school. So in our one-on-one sessions, we talk about everything. So we talk about everything, and we, going back again to what Coach Gwen said, we hold them accountable. So in that instance, yes. And once again, it's interesting that you say that. Gwen and I have just decided that we would donate some time to another nonprofit that works with young people. So we'll be talking to them. I'll talk with them one-on-one, have some very short one-on-one sessions with them Now, we have also trained through Ricks International, we have trained young leaders, believe it or not, as young as the 4th grade. We worked with Dr. Brown at Ross Elementary School some time ago, and we worked with his, as he called them, his rising seniors. Well, we did not work with them individually. We did work with them collectively. And we worked on their minds and their hearts, and we inspired them through sincere training and interaction with them.
And one of the things when we talk about bring your A game and the playbook, one of the A's is academics, because it would really be a travesty for our athletes to build their bodies and not build their minds. So the mindset, their intellectual capability, because as they grow up physically, they're going to have to be able to achieve increasing levels of academics, because if they don't achieve academically, they won't be able to play their sport. And so it's all interconnected. And so it's about the mind as well as the mentality in terms of them developing their talent.
You know, sitting here listening to both of you, it kind of reminds me of the neighbors long ago who took an interest in the kids. They didn't have to be their kids, you know, from a biological standpoint, but they were the neighborhood kids, and they took an interest in them. You know, they chastised them. They did all kinds of things, you know, to help them. And I can identify with quite a bit of what you all are talking about, because I've been there. And when I say I've been there, shortly after I got out of the service back in the 60s, and my wife and I moved into our first house, I began to see kids hanging around, and some co-workers, 3 of us, 4 of us, as a matter of fact, we got together and we organized. And we organized a group called Youth Unlimited.
Awesome.
A nonprofit.
Oh, good.
And we started raising money. We put our own money in there. We had a meeting every month. After 2 years, we were looking at a way that we could set a trap for the kids. And we figured for the boys, we figured that the best trap for them was baseball. And that's where we started. With baseball. We held tryouts, the uniforms were purchased, and these kids got started. And they had a place to come to, and they performed. The first year, I think we lost every game we played. But the interesting thing about that first year was that at the end of the season, there was a banquet. There were trophies given, not because you were the best performer, but only because you participated. And see, participation was the key. You know, we figured once we get them to participate, we can go further and further and further. And after the games, all the games that we lost, there was always the sermon on the mount, and I had to deliver the sermon. You know. And the sermon was basic things, like make sure you're on time for the games. Today it's a game, tomorrow it's a job. And we would go from there, you know. And how are you doing in school? And I would tell the kids, I say, you never know when I'm going to come knocking, even during the winter, to take a look at your report card to see how well you're doing. I said, because that's part of being on this team. This is a 12-month team. And I did things like that. But it was the banquet that made the team the winner, because the team that had performed the best out of that park. They didn't get a bank. They didn't have a banquet. They didn't get trophies. So the rumors began to flow all during the winter. The Reds are going to break up. They intend to join the Pioneers. And see, our team was based on people who had came before us. All the caps we had, they had a coonskin fellow on the cap, Jean Baptiste Pointe de Sable, and they were proud to be pioneers, you know. And that came from Ron Bennett's book, Pioneers in Protest. But that team became an overnight success in terms of winning. I mean, I just had so much talent on that team, but there were just basic things that were taught. And just a week ago, a fella came through here helping a family member move, and he talked to me on the phone. He had played second base as a kid.
That's awesome.
And he's 57 years old now.
Wow.
And he gave me a rundown on the kid. Well, how's Clifford? Do you ever see Clifford? Mr. Lacey Clifford's got a job. He works for the railroad. I said, good. He's got a job. When the last time you seen Eric? I haven't seen Eric. I haven't seen Eric, but I heard he's a CPA. He's got an office at 94th and Western. These are the kind of successes that you want to see.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm sure you all are striving for the same thing.
Yeah, that's our goal. And with our nonprofit, we've had it for almost 2 years. And we will say that we are seeking volunteers. We could use you as at least as a guide or a coach, because I think what you've done is really great. And so we have been, this has been something that we've held near and dear to us, and not just gone out, as you were saying, and asked for money and those things. Yeah, money is fine, but right now the most valuable asset is our young people. And with that, I would really like to share with our young people and older people alike, because we find that it works for Ricks International on the business side as well as the nonprofit. Something that we share, and this was a Gwen idea too, that a quote that we share with everybody, maybe we could say it together. There has never been another person quite like you in the history of mankind, nor will there ever be. Man has made you an original, one of a kind, really something special. And we share that with our young leaders as well as our senior leaders, because they are priceless, and we carry with us in our pockets, in my pocket, in Gwen's wallet, symbols of those priceless diamonds, because our young people are priceless, and we encourage them, and we want them to know it, and we want the family members that support them to know it. So on the nonprofit side, that's our goal. And we would invite anybody to contact us, to work with us, to help to save the lives of some of our young people.
Great.
And the same on the business side.
And on that note, I'm going to say they are unique, and so are you.
Thank you.
So long, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to another edition of Small Business Review. I'm Ernest Edward Lacey, your host. Today we have as our guest Rod Kirby. Rod, how you doing?
Doing very good, very good. Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, business has changed.
Yes.
What's going on?
Well, now I'm more focused on utilizing my creative gifts and talents, and doing a lot more photography, landscape photography, a lot of drawings, a lot of abstract drawings, charcoal drawings, stuff like that. So things are changing. I'm still using my gifts and talents, and I'm still doing marketing. I'm just doing more creative stuff now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you prefer what you're doing now as opposed to what you were doing?
Well, to me, I'm still utilizing those skills in marketing and small business marketing. I'm just kind of utilizing them in a different way. So I'm using them more for myself to promote my work now. And I still do help other entrepreneurs and other small business owners with their marketing stuff.
Yeah.
I just do more, photography and drawings for myself.
Okay. Do you ever do any, for an example, if a person came to you and they had, do you ever do anything by description? And by that, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. For an example, let's say I don't have a picture of a person, but I can give you a general idea of what this person looked like. And I have seen, and I've seen it done in books, where they may kind of shape a character to basically fit in where they don't have a picture, but they can put a character in there.
I don't do by description. I do understand what you're talking about, and I've seen that done. A lot of people are really good at that. That's unfortunately, that's not one of my gifts.
Yeah, okay.
I usually draw from pictures of things that I see, or of course take a picture of it. But I am doing some things with restaurant owners and possibly even hotels where I will go in and do custom work based on their brands. So if you are a restaurant owner and let's say you do a restaurant where you do salads or you do soul food or something like that, I can take items that are based on your brand and kind of create artwork around that.
Oh, okay. Okay, but you know what? Before I get away from this character image there, you say you don't do it.
Right.
But I'm gonna ask you, do you know people that do that?
Oh yeah, they do that with, especially using that on the police force. They do that with crimes to help people, victims.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't have to be exactly like that. It could be just like an image in a show, a thing like that. Only reason why I went back to that, Rod, is because a lot of times what I find is that if there are things that an artist doesn't do, they try to make sure they find people that do this because they get what is called a referral fee. Hey, I don't do it, but I know such and such guy do it. Let me get in touch with him or her.
Oh, yeah.
And they can do it, and then you contact them and say, look, I got a job for you, and I'm looking for 20% of this or whatever.
The great thing about the Memphis art community is that it's such a nice, tight-knit community. So if there's something I can't offer a client or I can't offer a business owner, there's always someone out there that can or who's willing to do it. So it's all about matter of networking and being able to pass on that business.
That's right.
It's just pushing it forward, basically.
Yeah, because I'm sure if there's things they don't do that you do, you get a referral from them, probably a nice little fee or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
It's all about making the money, and you're doing it honestly. You're doing it honestly. How has the business changed over the years?
Well, I've been on your show before, and years ago I was doing a lot of small business marketing. I was doing some workshops. I was doing website design, graphic design, stuff like that. My business has really more so internalized now. Now I'm promoting myself, other than other businesses and entrepreneurs. So really the business is just kind of shifting focus to the gifts and abilities that God gave me. Yeah. And being able to use that to promote myself.
Yeah.
So.
And you feel right now that you're doing more of that than you had done previously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much more rewarding and fulfilling when you're able to do what you love to do and everything, using every gift that God put in you. It's such a great feeling to be able to do that.
That's great. That's great. And let's see. How would we label your art? In terms of how Well, in terms of, if I was asked the question of how, what kind of art do you produce? How would you basically answer that?
Well, I do a mixed media. So I do photography. I also do charcoal drawing. I use watercolor. I also do some lithographs as well as calligraphy. There's just a lot of different things, and I bring all those elements into the different projects I work on.
Oh, okay.
But primarily, I do photography.
Okay, okay. And what would you say is the story behind your work now?
Well,
using all your talents.
using all my talents, but yeah. Also, what I want to do, I want to actually take a project and make it a photography project. So one day, probably about 2 months ago, I actually got up at 6 a.m. to capture what's called the magic hour. And the magic hour is really where the sun is really at the kind of at its peak when it rises or when it right before it sunsets. So it's actually the most beautiful time of the day where you get the best lighting, and the colors in the sky are just gorgeous. It's just awesome. So I did that, and I took a camera out and went out real early in the morning and then real late in the evening to capture these images. And a lot of the stuff I've got kind of cataloged in this book that I just produced. It's just my photography book that shows a lot of this stuff with landscapes and with different flowers and different cityscapes and downtown Memphis, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, okay. Have you ever thought about any particular location, or have you heard of a particular location that's great for an artist? You know, you say if you go out here, you know, if you're standing on this peak or whatever, you get a great shot or whatever.
Actually, there's two that comes to mind immediately. That's the Bass Pro Pyramid.
Okay.
I did a shot from there. I did downtown Memphis at night, and it's gorgeous. It turned out to be a nice big panoramic picture, which is really awesome. And then also this here, this is a shot of the Shelby Farms Park area, and call it the Great Lake. Because it's just a gorgeous park and gorgeous lake, and you know, it just really came out beautiful during. That's probably about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, right there.
Okay.
So it really turned out well.
Oh, good. That's great.
Thank you.
Looks great. Yeah. What about some of the work that you've done now? Let's say somebody wants to come, wants to greet you, or wants to see some of your work. Is it on display anyplace?
Well, actually, I just did a art show last month at Crosstown Arts, so that show was only for a day. But I'm going to have future shows set up in the near future. It's not necessarily at a particular place, but they are online right now. So you can go to rodkirby.photography to view my online gallery. You can see all the work that I have here, and then, of course, the new stuff that I put out just about every other month.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what would you say the story is behind your work?
Well, I think it's a story of me wanting to really express myself creatively and really kind of shift my thinking and really challenge myself, especially because I've always been an artist at heart. And whether it be digital art, whether it be graphic design, or even drawing things. But I really want to try to do something new for myself. So I picked up photography, and also not only I used to draw with charcoal, but I also wanted to try something different with color. So I usually just draw black and white, so I did some things with some color and color pencils, and it really came out cool and really different for me, because I usually just do black and white stuff. So, you know, really just pushing myself creatively.
Oh, okay. Is there any particular place where you do this, do your artwork? I mean, what I'm getting at here, Rod, is a place that you say, well, this is my place to get away from everything, where I can basically concentrate and not be bothered by telephones or anything, and I just let my mind, you know, just have its way.
Right. I've got two places, and don't laugh at me. The first place is my kitchen.
Oh, no. No.
All right. It's actually my kitchen. It's so peaceful in there. I don't know why. It's just so peaceful. You know, a lot of artists have their own studios. They have a separate bedroom that they use. They do the drawings in. I actually just do mine at the kitchen table. You know, it's just a free place, and plus I've got food in there, so
Yeah.
I got everything I need right there in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the second place really is the city of Memphis. You know, the entire city is so filled with history. It's so filled with beautiful objects and beautiful buildings and beautiful streets and stuff. You know, I just like to get out the house every once in a while and just go take a picture, go down to the park, you know, or go down to, you know, the